So we're in Kabukicho, arguably the world's biggest red light district, and that's why some people come here. It's a very fun place to go drinking, eating, but it also has a certain danger because it's famous for being the center of Japanese gangsterism, the Yakuza. And you can get in trouble here in various uniquely Japanese ways. And I used to hear about these stories a lot when I was a journalist, and I do personally know people who have been ripped off terribly here. I know one person who's been beaten up, and I know one guy who went to prison for 2.5 years for things that happened here. I'll tell you about these troubles you can get in, and I'll also give you some hacks about how to handle it if you manage to get into that kind of trouble. So talking about getting into trouble, take a look at these people on my right. The trouble that you're most likely to get into here or anywhere in Japan is something called botakuri, which is gross overcharging in drinking establishments, usually some kind of hostess bar. What happens is you're out on the street and you talk to one of these girls. These are touts. They'll pull you to some restaurant or some bar that they say is great and possibly tell you a price. When you get there, it's going to turn out really different. So the girls will take you to a place like one of these up here, and you'll have a great time drinking with them, and you know you've in abandon and you're spending more money than you should, but who cares, you use your credit card. And it won't be until the next day when you look at your statements that you see that you spent hundreds or thousands of dollars more than you thought you did. Why is that? Well, sometimes it's because you've been drugged. And at one point, roofying got so bad that even the US Embassy issued a warning to people not to come to this and other similar areas. A friend of mine, he got ripped off so badly, he got charged $27,000 because they ran his credit card 3 times, $9,000 each time. And you know, he doesn't even remember it happening. He only found out later. And the question is, what do you do then? Your next step will probably be to come here. That with red lights over there is a police box. And you'll be coming here because you'll need that police report where they list how your card was stolen and where and under what circumstances. But don't expect too much. It's not the same as in other countries. The police will ask you, do you still have your wallet? Do you still have your credit card? And you'll say yes, but they took it from me and ripped it off when it wasn't in my sight. And the police say, I'm very sorry, if nothing physical has been stolen, we can't write that report for you. And then you're screwed. I'm not telling you to lie, please, I would never do that. But bear in mind, if you go to the police box and say, oh, my wallet has been stolen, I don't have it anymore, my credit card is gone now after that night, the police will reluctantly have to write that report for you because something physical has been taken away from you. Bear that in mind. So this is where the women can get in trouble, the host bars. Now, I always wondered who decided that these effeminate, heavily made up guys are the epitome of male attractiveness. But it's obviously taken off. This look started here in the 90s and it spread through K-pop to the entire world. Now what happens here? Women come like to the hostess bars and they spend a fortune just to be wooed by these guys, drink with them and be charmed by them. A lot of the time it's a kind of revenge thing where hostesses who spent the whole evening serving men and being at their beck and call, they finish their shift at 2 or 3 in the morning and come to host bar where they're in charge and men have to serve them. The problem is that apparently it's addictive. Sometimes the women will get obsessed with a certain host and keep coming back and spending more and more money and get into debt, then have to go back to their hostess bar and work even harder in the sex industry to make money to pay for these guys. This is a story you mostly hear about Japanese women, but you tell me, could these hosts draw you in? This is Golden Gai, which is a special part of Kabukicho with these alleyways that look like Japan from 40 or 50 years ago. And of course, as a production company, we get lots of requests to film here. And unusually, even though the owners of these businesses are, of course, affiliated in some way to the mob, you can get official permission from the business association to film here as long as you obey certain strict rules, like you give them 4 days notice and you specify exactly where you're going to film. And we've filmed here successfully many times under those rules. Now, sometimes foreign directors get arrogant or in a hurry and they say, it doesn't look dangerous, we can do it ourselves. And we got this once from someone filming a TV commercial for, and they came here and we said, we couldn't have anything to do with it, go yourself and do it. And they came here with Japanese talent and they got carried away and they got too confident and they even moved boards and furniture from one shop to another, and people came and complained, and it scared the Japanese talent so much they ran away. They were right to run, because you've got to realize that the gangsters, they're not going to go after the big foreigners visited. They're going for the weakest link, and that is usually the Japanese guide they're with, or even the family or company that supports that guide. They're going to go and embarrass and harass that person until possibly they pay compensation they're demanding for the foreigner's crime of filming without permission. So here we are in central Kabukicho, and if you want to film here a professional shoot with big cameras and lights, you're going to have to deal with the Yakuza. Now the problem is, Kabukicho is covered with a network of rival gangs, and each one has its small territory. So you can negotiate with one, pay a fee, and then you have permission to film in a small area, maybe just from the end of the street up to that corner. You'll come on the appointed time, and they'll send a minder, a guy in a suit, probably sunglasses with authority. He'll stand there, and under his protection, no police will come, no one will hassle you, you can carry on with your shoot. Unfortunately, knowing what directors of film crews are, they'll get inspired by something over there and they'll want to film on the next block. And if you can't stop them, as soon as you step out of the bounds, your minder will disappear, gangsters from other groups will show up, and the police might show up, and you're in all kinds of trouble. You can't do a new deal with the next block and their gangsters right there and then. In fact, they will probably demand compensation for you interfering with their business. You're in so much trouble if you step out of bounds that you set on the original deal. So all of these signs you see here are supposedly bars. And I wondered for the longest time how it's possible that all these little bars get enough customers to stay in business. I mean, there's these and there's like 20 in that building over there and 30 in that building over there. When I was a journalist, I found out the answer. These are all cash businesses. It's impossible for the police or the tax authorities to monitor what actually goes on there. So someone can go and get a receipt from this bar for $500, $1,000 worth of drinks and entertainments they supposedly had that night, but nobody can check whether they actually consumed that. In fact, they are affronts for the Yakuza. People have to pay fees and protection money to the gangs, and you can turn up to one of these bars, pay the owners what you owe, and get a receipt like it was just entertainment. And this is how the underworld launders its money. So what we're about to see is actually a totally new thing in Kabukicho, which is streetwalkers, street prostitution. Really didn't happen much before. Bit sad to see, bit of a mystery why the police allow it to happen so blatantly, but come and have a look. The other way you can get in big trouble here as a foreigner is when you go clubbing. People go clubbing and they think they can do what they do back at home. They could buy a pill or whatever. from somebody in the club, and if it's a foreigner, they think they can't be a Japanese policeman, so it must be okay. And they have a great time. So when you come out, and if you have some scene with the police, they can put you through a urine test, and if there's narcotics in there, you're going to jail until you sign the confession they wrote for you, and you will go to prison. So I know a guy who had a proper job here, and he failed 2 urine tests, and he went to prison for 2.5 years in a Japanese prison. So remember that, because even if you took the narcotics a week ago or 2 days ago back in Europe or the USA, it's still in your system. So in the eyes of the Japanese law and the police, you are in possession of narcotics if it's in your system, and wow, that could ruin your life. So there we have it, the enigma of Kabukicho, the lawless place right in the center of well-ordered Tokyo. It's mysterious, sometimes a bit dangerous, but above all exciting and a really good time out, just for eating and drinking as much as anything else. There are so many more stories we could tell, so please like and subscribe and we'll tell you more of its secrets.